Good afternoon. It's Coach Manny, and I am excited, as always, to be here as we do our final Inner Circle freebie meeting just for you. And what better subject than meetings? You know, there isn't a week that goes by that I don't talk with or have an interaction with people who tell me meetings are driving me crazy. I was trying to get to you, Manny, but I was in a meeting. Oh my gosh. So today I want to share that with you. And before we get started though, let me just give people a moment to catch up here, because I threw out some stuff a little earlier just to get enough people who are excited about, hey, I don't want to have any more meetings. It's exciting. It's funny. But when I look at people and their workday, it's really not funny, because people are spending so much time getting nothing done. And, the original intent for a meeting was what? To get things accomplished. I mean, I like to put people in a room, put people together. Why? So we can get more done. But seems like we've went off track there for some reason. So, Inner Circle. Let me just put in a pitch for the Inner Circle, and then I'll throw that up there. Don't forget, $29 a month. You get in. We're just putting the teams together. This is an exciting chance for you to get this kind of education every week, to get a Q&A every week, and we're going to look to potentially hook you up with an accountability partner. So with all that there, get out of that meeting and sign up for the Inner Circle today. So let me get started with today's session, because I had a great time with this. So let's go with it. Are you getting meeting to death? That's the question. Every time I try and reach you on the phone, you're in a meeting. What the heck is going on? One day I tried to call you all day, and the answer was, she wants to talk to you, but is still in that meeting. This was hours later. The same meeting? Are you kidding me? I looked it up on the web, and one of the definitions I found was that meeting, an assembly of people, especially members of a society or committee, for discussion or entertainment. Now, here's the question for you. When was the last time that you were in a meeting that was entertaining? Now, I understand that sometimes those meetings can seem a little entertaining, but that's a great question for you here today. According to Wikipedia, a meeting is a gathering of two or more people that has been conveyed for the purpose of achieving a common good through verbal interaction, such as sharing information or reaching agreement. I spoke with a couple of friends the other day, and this is one of the things that kind of triggered this whole thing, and I wanted to share that with you. I was talking to them, and they had just left a grueling 5-hour meeting, and most of the stuff in the meeting was tabled. 5 hours. How can that be? Are you kidding me? I don't know. You better provide some food or something if we're going to go 5 hours. Jeez, that's like unbelievable. So, are you busy? Are you busy? Can you really afford to spend that much time in a meeting? Good question, right? And good question that kind of affects each and every one of us. Have we taken the reach an agreement out of meetings? It seems, and have we made them information sharing sessions, or worse? Who knows? I'm not even going there. Question again, are you busy? And I know most of you out there, and I know you're busy. Do you need to sit in a room and share stuff you can read or listen to on your own? Or do you spend the whole meeting? This stuff doesn't really affect me. Most meetings of 5+ people are dominated by a couple of people who I always say, go have this conversation on your own and then we'll talk about it. And I know the funny thing when I talk about this stuff to groups, about this whole meeting thing, the funny thing is people always tell me, God, I would love to just say something, but a lot of times you're not in a position to say something and you got to go through that grueling meeting, especially if you're one of my corporate people out there and well, never mind. So how can you have an effective meeting? Let me share. I got 10 quick little tips here for you. If you take one or two of these at a time, if you take one a week over the next 10 weeks and you implement it, I can guarantee you your meetings will be amazing. In fact, talking with a friend of mine the other day, we got into this conversation and he was telling me how he had started to implement a lot of this stuff and how effective his meetings have gotten. So let's take a look. Number one, you have to have a time limit for the meeting. I refuse to go in a meeting unless I know how long the meeting is. And that you're committed that if you called an hour meeting, you're not going to take more than an hour. If you called a half an hour, we're getting a half an hour, and that's it. And what I recommend is most meetings should never exceed an hour. Sometimes you got something that's really critical and it's really complex or something, so it might take a couple hours. But if it takes longer than that, you've lost everybody. People can't sit in a room in a meeting for more than 2 hours and pay attention. See, the key is how long before the meeting starts. That's what you need to know. How long is this meeting going to be? Now, number two, a clear, written, and shared agenda. I don't care if it's a 30-minute meeting. It takes 2 seconds to put together an email, address 5 people to let them know what's on the agenda. Who, what, how much time each item gets, period. Yeah, it's hard. But some people just talk and talk and talk and they never shut up. You've been in one of those meetings? I know you have because I'm seeing some real reaction out there. You get 15 minutes. If you need more time, we'll give you time in a future meeting, or perhaps maybe you should have your own meeting just for that topic. Number 3, stick to agenda times. You need a sheriff. Most meetings need a sheriff. And I'll tell you, that's one of the best meetings ever are held at Toastmasters. If you've ever been to a Toastmaster meeting, you can, and I was involved with Toastmasters and still involved, I can tell you one thing. Toastmasters has a rigid agenda, and this is how the meeting runs. And a lot of what I share with you here today, they do all the time. But you need a sheriff, somebody whose job it is to get you on schedule. You get 10 minutes to talk about your subject. Bam, it's done. If we're not done, we're going to table it. Let's move on to the next item. It works. And you'd be amazed at how much stuff you can get done. Number 4, you need a clear purpose in the meeting in measurable terms. Why are we having this meeting? Why are we doing this? To determine the options to take on a new piece of equipment. Okay, that's clear, right? Measurable. We're going to look at them options and we're going to determine which one we're going to take. To determine the final number of hires we need for a particular project. Clear. Graham, that's what we're going to sit down, we're going to talk about. To determine the preliminary budget for next year. Bam, boom, in, out. Stop meeting if you don't have this. Stop having a meeting. You got to have something that's measurable. A meeting is not a chit-chat session, although many that I go to, that's what they are. Number 5, get people informed and get them all the information before the meeting. Anything they can review, and give it to them in plain time so they can read it, look at it, and get back to you maybe on a question or two. Nothing's worse. Have you ever gone into a meeting and everybody sits around the meeting and they're all reading something? Wow. Why are you sitting there reading? It's like people going into a meeting and reading a PowerPoint slide, right? Have you ever been to those? Or worse, have you? I hope you haven't been the person presenting them. You know, you get those PowerPoint slides and everybody's dazed looking at the slide. Come on. Anything that needs to be read, reviewed, that kind of stuff, get to the people before the meeting. Don't spend my time. I read it and you guys didn't read it. What am I supposed to do? Sit around while you read it? Of course not. Number 6, require people to read it and review it. Make it a rule. Make it, enforce it. And if you're the CEO or you're the leader, it's your job. You come into the meeting, you better have read that. And I hate to use strong language like that, because everybody's like soft today. But the point is, if you come into my meeting and we're going to talk about hires for a specific project, guess what? I sent you resumes. I sent you information. Don't come to the meeting and start looking at that kind of stuff. You can do that on your own time. That's the way I look at it. Make people understand. Don't come to the meeting unless you've reviewed the data, because you're not helping anybody. And 6 people are going to sit around while you catch up. That just is not going to happen. Number 7, set the presentation rules. If you got people in a meeting that are going to do a presentation, I know people usually do pretty well when they deal with vendors. If I got a vendor coming in, I say, you get 15 minutes, that's it, we're going to cut you off after. But you got to do the same kind of stuff for your own team. You only get so much time, and when your time's up, we're moving on. Set presentation, time limits, slide limits, scope, what they can do. Just set that. This is the kind of stuff. I hope you're enjoying this. We have a few more, but I just want to take a break to say, you like this stuff? You should be in our inner circle. Not just do you get to see the presentations like this, but you get to talk to other people in that inner circle. You get to communicate with them and say, hey, did you hear that? What did you think? Are you having this kind of meetings? Is this the kind of stuff that you have to deal with? How have you dealt with it successfully? That's the purpose of the inner circle. More so than my teaching, because you can get my videos. I got plenty of video out there you can learn. Not so with the Q&As. They're pretty good. But the point is the interaction. If you're in that inner circle, everybody else in the inner circle, you get to communicate with and share. That's the power. And let me tell you, people pay me thousands of dollars for coaching, tens of thousands of dollars for coaching. And I want to tell you something, plain and simple. You can get a lot of that information interacting with other people. So get into the group today. Join the inner circle. It's $29 a month. Let's move on. Number 8, are you excited yet? Are you ready to implement some of these? Yeah, we're coming out with the article. It'll probably be out next week. So if you want some written documentation to back up a lot of this. But number 8, stop people from going off into all kinds of never land. You ever sit in a meeting and these people are like way out of scope, way out of the conversation? Come on. What kind of meeting is this going to be? I'm busy. I have all kinds of stuff to do. You're even busier than I am. So let me tell you, let's cut that stuff out. Number 9, you got to get input from all the people in the meeting. Ask people their opinion. If they don't have one, and if they're not participating in the meeting, the question is, why are they in the meeting? Instead of having 10 people in the meeting, maybe you could have had 5, and maybe you could have got a lot more done. People have plenty to do in environments today. People are always telling me how much work they have to do, how much stuff they have to do. They don't want to be in a meeting. If that person isn't adding something effective and important to that meeting, they should not be there, period. And finally, Number 10. You see, I'm having way too much fun with this stuff. And I want to tell you, if you can implement, like I said, if you can do one of these things a week over the next 10 weeks, your meetings will take a whole different swing. Number 10, if it doesn't relate to the purpose of the meeting, get it out. Somebody has to stand up. That's why you have a sheriff. Somebody has to stand up and say no. No chit chat, no small talk, know what you did last week. You can do that before the meeting. You can do it after the meeting. In the meeting, we're doing a specific thing. We're trying to get something done and we're moving on. So are you ready to take some of this stuff? Are you ready to implement some of this stuff? Are you ready to make some of this stuff part of your process? We teach leadership. One of the great things we teach is leadership. So if you're out there and you've got a company and you've got 10 leaders that you feel you need to train, or maybe you don't have quite 10, but you're close, you need to get a hold of me. One of the things we do, this is just one of the things. Effective meetings is just one of the things that great leaders do. And it's just one of the things that you need. Remember, in great leadership, there's three pieces. You got to develop you got to develop your team, and then you have to coach your team to victory. And as an effective leader, you've got to be able to do all three of those things well. So again, check out our website, coachmanny.com. We have a lot of stuff out there. We got some great new leadership process coming together. I have one of my best old friends, and we are in the process of making this even better. So leadership training, if you need that, get in. And again, the other thing I'll tell you is the inner circle's out there. I want you all as members. So you want to do a quick recap? Of course. Let's go back and just do a quick recap. Set a time limit for all your meetings. Have a clear, written, shared agenda, and make sure you stick to the agenda times. Have a clear purpose in measurable terms for this meeting. Get people all the information they need beforehand and require them to read it, because just getting it to them may not always be enough. Set the presentation rules. Very important. Stop people from going off into never land. Get input from all members, because there's no sense in them being there if they're not going to input. And stop people from going into stuff that isn't part of this process that we're going through. Great leaders have effective meetings. Wow. I told you we're going to have a little fun today, right? I love this stuff. And I'm going to tell you something. If you can implement this in your process, you're going to save yourself, your team, and your organization. Whether it's a business or a nonprofit or just something you're working with as an association. Effective meetings change the way you operate. Effective meetings move you from being good to being extraordinary. And remember, part of Coach Manny's process is, how do we move people to extraordinary? Hey, as always, it's my pleasure. I think we're going to do a quick Q&A, so come back in a couple minutes. I got a few questions we're trying to focus on, and we'll try to do a free Q&A session for you. And again, get out there, join the inner circle, and as always, have a great day.